I think the Atlanta Hawks are proving to people that they're not just a flash in the pan. They're hot for a little bit. They look decent type of basketball team. This is a legit team that is a serious threat in the Eastern Conference. Now, I'm not going to sit here and say that they're likely a threat to the Celtics or the Cavs, the teams at the top of the East. Probably not, right? But they're not going to be an easy out. They're a team that is really building something, and it looks like they have a real future here in the Eastern Conference, kind of like a team like the Knicks from a couple of years ago in a lot of ways, I feel like, where they're not great yet, but they're starting to put the pieces together to become a great team in the East. And I think it all starts with Jalen Johnson and Trae Young. This team is really putting together some very impressive wins recently. They've won 7 of their last 8, just are playing really high level basketball across the board. Already have wins in Boston, in Cleveland, at home against Cleveland, and then tonight in New York in an NBA Cup elimination game. The Hawks look serious, and they are a serious threat in the Eastern Conference to not just squeak into the playoffs and lose meekly in the first round, but be a competitive out in the Eastern Conference playoffs this year and are building something for the future. And that's what should be most exciting about Hawks fans. Because look, temper your expectations for this year. Yes, they're playing right now. The odds of them making a finals run or a conference finals run or anything like that are pretty low. Not impossible. We saw Indiana do it last year. We saw the Hawks do it a couple of years ago. But this team has really turned into something from a squad that was very mediocre to even bad these last couple of years since that conference finals appearance, and now look like they have serious potential in the future. Before we hop into it and go more in depth, if you haven't already, make sure you hit that subscribe button. Help me push towards the 2,000 subscriber mark on the channel, uploading multiple NBA videos every single day. Would really appreciate it if y'all do subscribe. And without further ado, my apologies for the dog playing in the background. He's just got energy. But Hawks beat the Knicks tonight 108-100. They really struggled offensively in the first half shooting the three. I believe they were 3 for 16, less than 20%. Still wound up only shooting 29% for the game, but they were 6 of 15 in the second half, so a little bit better there. I mean, that's about 40% actually. That's pretty good. They were down, 7 at half, 4 about midway through the third quarter, and then went on a 21-6 run and kind of built themselves about a 10-point lead that they never really relinquished. Were able to close out the game and keep the Knicks at bay for the rest of the game. And I thought they did a great job on both ends of the court, honestly. I was very, very impressed because I actually thought the Knicks played really well in the first half. They did a good job of cutting off Trae Young's passing lanes, taking away his threat for an assist as much, making him try to be more of a scorer. Karl Anthony Towns was really impressive, especially in the first half he had like 15 rebounds, 3 blocks, 3 steals in the first half, was having a very impactful half. And they just came out and had a really, really impressive second half on both ends of the court. The type of half that was like, oh, wow. This team is legit, and it all starts with Jalen Johnson. Look, I got multiple comments in my last Hawks video that I made a few days ago where people were pissed at me, legitimately. I'm surprised by this, but they were, that I said Jalen Johnson is the Hawks' best player. Jalen Johnson is the Hawks' best player, and I'm going to show y'all some numbers that back that up. But 21 points, 15 rebounds, 7 assists, 2 steals, 2 blocks, and a team high, game high, plus 16. Those are some good numbers right there. Really, really great performance from Jalen Johnson tonight, despite elite efficiency shooting the ball. Did everything on the court and did it at a high level. Impacted the game significantly on both ends of the court. There are very few wings in the entirety of basketball who are legit two-way guys, can guard, can put the ball on the floor, have the size to switch and guard against bigs, and on top of that are elite rebounders. Jalen Johnson provides all of that stuff. He is a basketball player in the truest sense of the word. There is nothing on the NBA court that he is not able to do at a decently high level to very high level. And he has turned into an incredibly valuable piece for this Hawks team, playing really, really high level basketball so far this year. And I really like what this team is building. I mean, Dyson Daniels has 9 points, but was very impactful at trying to limit Jalen Brunson as much as possible. Brunson only went 5 of 15. Quinn Snyder basically matched Dyson Daniels with Jalen Brunson's minutes pretty much entirely. I think the whole game basically. And Brunson was limited in a lot of ways in this game. And I think Dyson Daniels was the biggest reason why. Reese Shea didn't have a great game, but I actually think despite his shooting inefficiencies as a rookie that he's going to turn into a real player. He does a lot of things well. He's another guy who defends, feels like he plays the right way, has good footwork. He's got to develop as a shooter and a scorer. But I really think he's a guy that they can build around. DeAndre Hunter had a massive game tonight. Has been really good since returning from injury in general, but 24 points on 8 of 15, 4 of 5 from 3 tonight. He provides some of the perimeter shooting that this team sometimes lacks and is a really, really valuable piece in his own right coming off the bench. Same thing with a guy like Bogdanovic, who's a good scorer. Another guy who, this is an unselfish team. They're a good passing team. Trae is obviously right at the center of that, leading the league in assists. Really good playmaker, but all these other guys as well. Like Dyson Daniels is a real connector. He's a real passer. He's not a point guard, but he is a real connector who can catch a pass off of a pick and roll and make another read, catch a pass in the corner, make a play out the corner for himself or for a teammate. They throw a ton of lobs to the number one lob team in the league. Look, I don't love Clint Capella or Onyeka Okongwu. I'm not like super duper high on either of those guys. Okongwu has been disappointing. But both those guys are great lob catchers, and both those guys play their roles pretty well. Like, there's a lot to like about this Hawks team. When you look at the numbers, the Archer just will not leave me alone right now. I just got home. He's got a lot of energy. I'm gonna have to go play with him in a little bit. Sorry, y'all. But the numbers are very interesting because despite significant three-point struggles, I mean, Trae Young having the worst three-point shooting season of his career is only at 31%. They're getting a lot of production out of a lot of different guys. I mean, DeAndre Hunter, I cannot talk enough. 20 points a game on 42% from three since he returned. That has been huge. But the versatility of Jalen Johnson averaging basically a 20, 10, and 5.5. Trae Young leading the league in assists at 12.2 and doing it without turning the ball over an obscene amount for a player with that type of playmaking. Dyson Daniels being the most impactful guard defender in the entire league this year, leading the league in deflections and steals by a very, very wide margin. They are getting a lot of contributions from a lot of different guys, and you combine that with a good center duo. He will not leave me alone. I'm sorry, y'all. Multiple talented wings who are doing a lot of different things, and I think a lot of young guys who have real potential in the future as well. I mean, Jalen Johnson's still very young. Dyson Daniels also still very young. Reese Shea, the number one overall pick, is 19. They're a very, very young, very talented team that is showing a lot of promise for the future. But even more than that, when you look at the on-off numbers, Jalen Johnson has truly emerged into a really, really high-level player who I actually think has real star potential in the future. Like, he might be an all-star this year, especially with the injuries that have happened in the East. Guys like Paulo and Franz aren't going to be all-stars because of injuries. There might be a spot this year for Jalen Johnson. He is the Hawks are 15 points per 100 possessions better when he's on the court. Much better offensively and defensively. They are just more efficient with him on the court. He's a great connector, does everything well, can play make with the ball in his hands, can score with the ball in his hands, finishes physically at the rim, defends at a high level, just does everything you could pretty much possibly want a player to do, and he does it at a high level as well, which is really, really valuable. And you get that in addition to a bunch of other contributions from a lot of guys. Like DeAndre Hunter has been a net positive since he came back. Dyson Daniels, I get the offensive inefficiency stuff can be frustrating, but he's so impactful defensively, it makes it worth it. Reese Shea has struggled, but he's a rookie, and I think he's going to be good. Okongwu, I don't love. I feel like he struggled a lot, but outside of Okongwu, everybody else in their rotation besides those two guys have been huge to at least solid, but mainly huge net positives. Like, these are 6 of their 8 most important players that have been their 6 best players in on-off numbers this season. And that's a big deal. Like, that's a really big thing for this team. And here's the thing, in their last 8 games, they're playing like a very, very serious playoff team. I mean, they're 7-1. They have the 13th best offensive rating in the league. Defensive rating, I believe they are 8th or 9th, something like that in the league. Yeah, they have the 8th best defensive rating. Net rating wise, they have the 10th best net rating. They're passing the ball more than almost any team in the league. Ton of assists, really high assist percentage, which has been big for this team. A ton to like about the Atlanta Hawks, especially lately. They're playing really, really high level basketball, and they're in a spot where, look, the schedule recently hasn't been super favorable to them, and yet they found a way to win these games anyway. Look, I know Milwaukee. No, I think Milwaukee actually had Dame and Giannis that game, didn't they? They beat the Lakers in overtime in the game that they should not have won. They lose to Denver in a blowout. Sure, that happens, but then they beat New York. They beat Cleveland twice. Earlier in the season, they beat Boston. They've already beat New York early in the season as well in what was Reese Shea's best game of the season so far. This is a really, really good team that does a ton of things well, and they're good offensively, they're good defensively, and they're playing well in a tough portion of the schedule. And that's really valuable for a team that is now currently, 6th in the standings, 7th at 14-12, 7.5 games back. Obviously, they're not going to be a super high seed in the East, unlikely to crack a top 4 seed or anything like that. I'm sorry, y'all. He is really persistent today. But I mean, yeah, they're playing much better as of late. They're playing really good basketball. They're competing on both ends of the court, and they look like a threat in the Eastern Conference. Like, not a team that's just, oh, they're on a fun run, but a team that, like, oh yeah, this team's building something for the future, and they're good right now. So with that being said, that is going to do it for today's video. Hope y'all did enjoy. Hope the dog didn't bother y'all too much, but he just wanted to be a part of it today. And if you did enjoy the video, make sure you hit that like button, leave a comment, and subscribe. I will be back with more NBA content very, very soon. I appreciate y'all. One more cameo. Peace.